Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to this session on the third day of the summit. I wish all of you have already attended some really informative sessions. This one focuses on evaluating sustainable development through global and comparative perspectives. We have three interesting presentations to hear. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce the first presenter, Dr. Shariq from Utah Tech University of the United States. His presentation focuses on the future of leadership in the context of academic institutions, particularly emotional capabilities and intellectual communications. Shariq has had a long career before the current career as a scholar focusing on these aspects of academic management and leadership. Before this, he has worked with 4 leading universities focusing on internal development. So I'm sure his presentation will share the light on these critical aspects of leadership in the future of a sustainable world, based on not just his academic research, but also his professional experiences. The floor is yours, Shariq.
Thank you, Professor Wu, and thank you, Angel, for kind of like troubleshooting everything, and I really appreciate that. My first question is, are you all able to hear me properly without the echo?
Yes, Professor, we can.
Fantastic. Again, a big thank you to Professor Wu and also to Angel for kind of like walking us through this and showing their patience, and also to the organizers of the conference, the International USR Summit 2022. I'm very excited to be here this evening, late evening in St. George, Utah, and early morning on Friday in Hong Kong. So just keeping on track with track 5, elevating sustainable development. The title of my presentation today is Transformational Leadership, Emotional Intelligence and Intercultural Communication as Essential Competencies in University Social Responsibility. I'm going to touch upon these 4 areas. And because the time that I was given was 20 minutes, but I'm supposed to finish within 14 minutes, now 13 minutes. So I'm trying to see what I can focus more on and what I can kind of like, mesh or jive in. So transformational leadership, emotional intelligence, crucial conversations, intercultural communication. These are some of the themes of my presentation today. And just continuing with education and action for a sustainable future. As we all know, the United Nations organization came up with these 17 sustainable development goals to be fulfilled by 2030. And if you look at the image on the right-hand side on the top line, the number 4 is quality education. So this theme and this presentation is perfectly, at the crux of these sustainable development goals for 2023. So my journey has been around universities. So I feel like my research in this area is driven by my association with these universities and how I have seen what university social responsibility as compared to corporate social responsibility, what that looks like, what these fine academic institutions are doing. And I want to give a shout out to my alma mater, the Aligarh Muslim University in India on the top left-hand side. And of course, my journey at Harvard, followed by University of Cincinnati, the Ohio State University, and my PhD alma mater at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, and of course, my present Utah Tech University. So just a quick organizational roadmap, just a remembrance of that. All organizations, whether academic or corporate, they look for sustainability in terms of vision, mission, and goals. These 3 elements of any organization should be, in my view, documented and visible to all organizational stakeholders, whether they are internal stakeholders like shareholders and employees, or external stakeholders like you and I, who don't work, for example, at these organizations, but we are influenced and affected by what goes on in these organizations because they are they live and work and play in the communities of which we are a part. And just on the right-hand side, if you look, this is a hierarchical, operation of any organization, but in this case, an academic organization. So all organizations, whether academic or otherwise, have some sort of a structure and hierarchy. Even though more and more we are trying to get rid of hierarchy, but it still exists in these organizations, and different people play different roles, have different responsibilities. Now, what is more important is the traditions. What brought this organization here? What brought us here? Why are we working here as leaders in these academic organizations? What is the culture? And most important, and not given as much attention, are the stories and the narratives, the stories that we tell, the stories that we hear. Let's keep that in mind as we go through today's presentation. John F. Kennedy, the 35th president of the US, talked about leadership and learning as being are indispensable to each other. And I certainly vouch for that. Here's my definition of leader that I came up with in this year, actually. So I define leader as a person who, through education, communication, and action, can get the team members to believe in a shared vision, mission, and goals by providing them with knowledge, training, guidance, motivation to accomplish a specific task in a responsible manner, leading to sustainable outcomes. If a leader can work towards sustainability, that's a big part of the leadership and the leadership role. I want you all to think about, after today's presentation, after this conference, to carve out a definition of leadership, what you think of leadership as, specifically academic leadership, specifically leadership that can lead to sustainability, wherein we can kind of develop new leaders from the younger generation of people that we influence, teach, and coach. So looking at university organizational leadership, again, transformational leadership is really important, and we'll learn about that in a moment. What is emotional intelligence? What kind of conversations are we interacting with? What kind of conversation are we having with people that we're interacting with? And what role does intercultural communication play in those situations? So transformational leadership is basically a pentat, wherein, a good leader, a transformational leader models the way, leads by example, by doing, by showing, and by guiding. So they are basically focused on learning about not only their own emotions, but the emotions of the people that they are working with, their employees, their direct reports, their subordinates, their colleagues, understanding their emotions, what is in their heart that keeps them involved in the job that they do, and inspiring a shared vision, making it clearer for their team members as to what their shared vision looks like, and enabling others to act. How? By acting themselves and challenging the process. The only constant in organizations is basically the change. So not be afraid to challenge the process, questioning it. That's what a good transformational leader and transformational leadership looks like. Emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman, many of you know about his work. He defines emotional intelligence as a wide array of competencies and skills that drive leadership performance. If you look at the middle image, it shows emotional leadership and emotional intelligence is comprised of 5 elements. Self-awareness, very similar to transformational leadership, being aware of who you are, being able to self-manage your own emotions and your own work style, and being able to motivate others, showing empathy when a group member, when a team member, when an employee or a direct report is not able to deliver exactly in the manner, in the moment, in the time frame, in the timeline that we expect them to deliver, trying to see what's happening. And of course, having excellent social skills, primary among them being able to communicate with colleagues. So this image, basically this cartoon shows what are the qualities of someone with low emotional intelligence and high emotional intelligence. We want people, we want ourselves and us and our leaders to be representing high emotional intelligence, being assertive, driven, showing warmth and enthusiasm, being patient and stable and consistent, also being good listeners, not just good speakers, and being very systematic, neat, organized, and detailed and clean. Those are the hallmarks of high emotional intelligence that can impact change within organizations. The crucial conversations are really a big part of communication. Some of the important elements of crucial conversations are variable opinions. Of course, people are from different backgrounds, different cultures, different experiences, different values, different norms, different societies. They are going to have variable opinions. There will be significant stakes. We are dealing with multi-million-dollar grants, multi-million-dollar projects. And it's not just a financial situation. More people, more opinions, more ideas, different stakes. And the feelings are going to be strong. Some people are going to feel that the feelings are being disrespected, not listened to, being trampled upon. Because the topics are difficult. There has to be accountability. Oftentimes, when human beings engage, there can be some insensitivity in those discussions. People could take certain ideas as negative, with negative connotations. And so negotiations are a big part of crucial conversations. The conflicts occur because of resentment. I don't get my way, you get your way all the time. Sometimes you don't get your way, I get my way. Sometimes one team gets their way all the time. Maybe they are better, maybe the idea is better, but maybe there's some kind of favoritism, there are disagreements. So all of these conflicts actually rooted in race, in the idea of race, ethnicity, culture, beliefs, norms, practices, values, ideas, perceptions, language, religion, diversity. As we work in a global context, in collaborations, these values are going to be front and center. How do we still stay relevant and consistent and be able to negotiate the collaborative work with each other while still respecting, acknowledging these? So this really jives in nicely with today's track 5 theme, which is elevating sustainable development through regional and global collaboration. So global collaboration is the essence of development. Again, what the approach to crucial conversations look like. If you look on the left-hand side, it says past, present, past, future, and present. So we're going to go back and depend on the history. How do you explain what has happened in the past? Explanations, listening to stories, sharing stories, learning from each other, and analyzing. Similarly, for future, there's a possibility. What do you want that is different from the past? How can we improve? How can we get better? How can we do right by the people who were done wrong? So the aspirations and hopes, the vision, and the plans for future must be front and center in this crucial conversation approach. And finally, the present is action-oriented. What will move this to action? Action is really important. You can have as many plans as you want, but if you don't act upon those, if people don't buy into that argument, it is immaterial. So the commitment, the immediate plans, the action steps that are really important. This is just a transactional model of communication, intercultural communication. So what do those intercultural perspectives look like? So communication is important in conflict resolution. It is at the center of discussion, negotiation, and conflict resolution. And these include leadership to employee, employee to employee, which is collaborator to collaborator also. So operate with ethics, with honesty, with perspective, understanding, and respect for cultural and diversity, equity, and inclusivity sensitivities across the globe, and appeal to collaborators or employees' conscience, rationality, and emotional intelligence. Give respect to people because they are knowledgeable, they do have the intelligence. And intercultural communication, collaboration. So we are trying to look for the sweet spot. If you look in the cartoon on the right-hand side, the one in the center, where problem solving, conflict resolution, negotiation techniques, they all come together in terms of leadership passions, leadership competencies, and organizational needs. So what does sustainability look like through collaboration? It's not just about walking the walk and talking the talk. We must walk the talk. as leaders, particularly academic leaders, who are with the idea of university, social responsibility, are we following through? Are we acting upon what we are preaching? So as a visible role model, communicate ethically with others, listen actively, and reflect upon the stories of others, not just our own stories. So we need to avoid the danger of a single story. We all have multiple stories to share. We all have multiple identities. We have that intersectionality that we kind of like go in and out of, depending upon situation, circumstances, context, and discussion scenarios. Internal listening is really important, focused listening, and asking other people about a specific team, about a specific person, that's 360 listening. And engaging in dialogical ethics is in an honest, trustworthy, and respectful manner, showing the unconditional positive regard, as Carl Rogers, as early as 1956, talked about. No matter what a person looks like, say what
Very sorry to interrupt. You have about 30 seconds left. You're just talking about listening.
Yes, I'm aware, and I am watching the time. Thank you. So finally, the collaborative action of for sustainable future, keeping in mind goal number 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals, the quality education, the 6 ways to succeed as an academic leader: inspiring commitment, leading employees, strategic planning, change management, employee development, self-awareness. Thank you. What questions do you have for me?
Thank you, Shariq. And also thank you for reminding all of us in the audience through the virtual platform. Please type in your questions through Slido. We will collect them and we will try to address if there's any time. Otherwise, please take a note of Shariq's full name and affiliation. You can reach out to him directly. We highly encourage everyone to do that. Please don't feel shy. This is a great opportunity for you to reach out to experts and scholars directly. Find them through the platform's hallway or directory and send them your questions directly. So now the panel will move on to the second presentation. The second presentation will be is prepared by a team from the Netherlands. I think translated into English, probably it's called the Valley University Amsterdam. And the presentation is coerced by Eva Janssen and Michelle Barboure. But Eva is the only one presenting today. The topic is focusing on connecting academic talent to innovate internships. They're looking at a micro case, but I'm sure they will share widely available, widely applicable experience. So Eva, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Wu. Thank you also Hong Kong Polytechnic and the USR organizing committee for this lovely summit. Today I would like to take you on the journey of Internships in the Valley, a program that connects master and PhD students from the Netherlands with internships in Silicon Valley. And to give a disclaimer, the program itself doesn't have a strong university social responsibility aspect, but since universities do need to become more active outside of the university walls to have an impact on society, perhaps this case can serve as has some learnings for USR triple helix collaborations. So how did the program got initiated? The Netherlands has 13 research universities, and in January 2019, all the presidents from the executive boards went on a business and knowledge exchange trip to San Francisco, where they heard about the Holland in the Valley network, a network that was launched by the Dutch consulate in San Francisco to connect 5,000 Dutch people that live and work in the Bay Area. And on this trip, Mirjam van Praag, the president of Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, and Gerbert Kunst, the then consul general of the Dutch consulate in San Francisco, said to each other, isn't it a good idea if we could connect academic talent from the Netherlands with internships in the US? And this is learning number one. There's probably often that ideas like this get proposed on occasions, but it actually needs entrepreneurial types to follow through and make it happen. And Miriam and Gerard are exactly that. So soon they activated networks that they were affiliated with. So from the consulate side, it was the Holland in the Valley network and their partnership with the Netherlands America Foundation. And from the university side, that was the University of the Netherlands Association and the 13 Dutch research universities. And the program was complemented by industry collaborations through the Holland in the Valley network and university alumni of professionals that live in the US. So all stakeholders contribute, have their own contributions to the program. And that creates a program with unique benefits. From the academia side, the universities all agreed to a 3-year pilot that was done in the University of the Netherlands Association meeting. I also think not for every country it would be as easy to found a program like this, but since the Netherlands, it's a bit smaller and it's easier for the universities to work together. So that's also how this idea arose. It's a shared effort to strengthen the position of the Dutch higher education system in one of the most important economic regions of the world. So each university got a dedicated coordinator appointed. The VU was the actor that was responsible for the program management. At the consulate, there's also a dedicated partner, like a staff member that's working on the program that we're in touch with on a weekly basis. The Netherlands America Foundation takes care of a smooth J1 visa procedure. And then we have the business relations to the Holland in the Valley network and the alumni networks of the universities. So what's our pitch to the students? It's that we match them with paid internships. But of course, this depends also on the role and type of company, but the height is of this conversation. We take care of tailored matching with companies, take care of the visa support, the pre-departure preparations, and take care of local networking opportunities. So we had our first edition. Actually, I don't think I have enough time to go into all the details, but it's a pilot. So the first edition was also to check, is this ID a valid ID? Does it work? And soon we found out actually there was green light on all important aspects. So there was talent that we recruited amazing talent through all the university channels. Companies were extremely interested in hosting them as an intern. So we had very quickly the first matches made in this first edition. And also the J1 visa procedure, it went all smooth with the Netherlands America Foundation, but then right before our first interns would leave to the US, the pandemic happened and nobody arrived there, unfortunately. So there was a pity of the start, but it did prove all the lights were showing green signs for that the ID could be a success. So the pilot for the first edition did succeed, and we used all the time to build, to improve the website, to develop a better application system, to get our social media better up and running. So we did use the time wisely, but we did have to stop and pause for a full year. And also we learned from some struggles that we met along the way. So all the universities had appointed a university coordinator, but it was done quite top down. So not all were happy with this extra task on top of their other work. Also, the program floated quite between the international offices and the career services. It didn't have a clear positioning within the universities. And some of the 13 universities had better profiles for Silicon Valley internships than others. And it proved quite difficult if our partner at the consulate when they had a staff change and our dedicated contact person left, or if they would be really busy with trade missions and events during peak times in the program, then sometimes we couldn't get a hold of them. So it's, and then also with the time difference, it can be quite challenging. And a very important learning for us, especially with such a startup pilot program with so much unexpected events happening, is that it was very important. We noticed that stakeholders really understood their role in the program, and that we communicated clearly what we need from them as a program organization, and that we continuously had to be very transparent about where does the program stand, where are we going, and also to ask what can we do better so we can learn and grow from all the stakeholders and also not lose them along the way. And this is quite a time-intensive task. And I also thought as a program manager, it's quite difficult sometimes to do this while executing the whole program, but it's actually very essential to do this all along. Otherwise, people get lost because there's so much going on. So 1 year later, we thought it was safe to open back up. The world was vaccinated, and we reignited the university coordinator relationships, all the stakeholders. We did research with the businesses that we were in touch with and had already matched talent with. Everybody was still very eager to participate in the program, but we did this research quite early on because we needed preparation time for a new campaign, needed to recruit the talent. So when companies said, yes, we'll for sure be back in office after the summer, we thought, well, if we're then going to match students from February the year after, for sure, there's got to be enough, the businesses are going to be back in office. But yeah, the pandemic times were very unexpected for all of us in this period. It took way longer than we expected. So our second edition also was impacted quite a bit. In hindsight, we wouldn't have started that soon. But I also don't know if we could have researched that better, because I think nobody knew. And at some point, it did seem safe to move forward again. So we had a period which was different pre-pandemic, where we were trying to match this talented candidates, and we couldn't find placements for them. Companies were too hesitant to take on international interns, or working fully remotely still, which is not an option with the J1 visa and also not our intention with the program. So then we used this time to experiment, basically. We started training the student pool to find internships themselves with the help of Silicon Valley HR professionals. And we started also individual conversations with all the universities and the other stakeholders of the program to see how we could improve and change and offer more value to all involved, and especially for the universities. So this led to a program redesign. And while we were focusing on this redesign, we also finally noticed that the ball started rolling, and then we got our first 11 matched interns. So that's these interns, which finally brought the program that we were working already so long on to life. Only 5 minutes, I'm going to rush a bit on. These are some changes that we're making now. So besides just matchmaking for our third edition that's coming up, that we're recruiting for right now, we also train students to find internships themselves. We no longer limit them to Silicon Valley, but motivate them to look US-wide. We focus more on PhD recruitment next year, and we'll have 2 enrollment periods to cater to more academic calendars. And we focus on a clear positioning in the university career services portfolio, which also we notice now already is very beneficial for our communication and recruitment. And we now have our 11 fellows, Holland in the Valley fellows, that's how we call our interns, that can support us with content and recruitment. There's a bit more information about the dual approach, but I'll just go on because I think the learnings are more interesting. This is currently in development. It's an academy platform that we use to train the interns. We're gonna create a course program here and host live webinars, post internship vacancies, and also organize matchmaking speed date events with business relations that we have. So what did we learn from this all 2 years of experience with lots of setbacks? It has been really important for this triple helix program that it was agreed on in advance that it's a multiple year buy-in, so that all stakeholders in advance said that they were dedicated to follow through for 3 years, and that is definitely needed. And we basically now have only 1.5 years concretely that we've really been active. So these 3 years were definitely needed to come where we are now. With all the setbacks that we've had. I'm also pretty certain that if we wouldn't have had the COVID pandemic, then the program would have been we would have had many more interns already in the US. But I hope that this next edition is enough to prove ourselves so that the program can continue. Also, I think it's really important to define clear outcomes at start. And because when there's problems, or challenges, then there's different ways to get to solutions, and it helps to have a steering point. And what also helped us is to use these unexpected setbacks actually as opportunities for experimentation and reorientation, and to schedule time for regular evaluations, to continuously grow and learn, and then all the while keep all the stakeholders engaged. I would say that's maybe the most important learning of all. So yeah, what's next for our program? Ideally, next year we'll have 40 interns in the US, and we hope to decrease the funding by the universities. It's not a big sum because it's 13 universities, and the costs, there's also costs shared by the consulate network, by the business relations, and it's not a big team that's working on it. It's me and my colleague Michelle, who share 1.5 full-time role and a student assistant. But yeah, so still it would be great if the funding from the universities could decrease, and that we could ask more a fee from businesses when they hire an intern, so that we can grow the program, but do not need to rely on university funding. Yeah, if you're interested in following what's happening next for the program, or have a question or want to keep updated, you can enroll for our newsletter on our website, or follow us on our social media. Yeah, thank you very much. I was very happy to be able to present this case here, and I hope it is useful for anyone.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you for sharing your experience and the case. As I said before, we moved from a very highly philosophical take of the issue of academic future, or academic management future, and provided by Shariq, to a very seemingly nitty-gritty reality check of how things can work out or not on the ground. And just imagine, this is between the Netherlands and the United States. For a lot of us, probably it looks like, from relatively speaking, culturally similar, but still so much complications. Imagine we have to amplify this project to include 50 countries, let's say, young people from different continents, different faith backgrounds, and the development background, social economic backgrounds. I'm sure things will be even more complicated. And as Eva already mentioned, the pandemic has truly, let's say, messed around in a way, made everything much more challenging. And this naturally leads us to the next conversation, a conversation directly related to lots of collective reflections in the context, or even though some of us might be slowly, gradually coming out of it, in a context. This presentation is, the next one is co-authored by a team of scholars from South Korea, based in Yonsei University, as well as the Korean Foundation for International Healthcare. There's 3 authors, Professor Hyun Kim, Professor Vasuki, Rajaguru, and Ms. Hyejin Jung. And today, Professor Vasuki will join us. And Professor Vasuki is a research professor based at the Department of Healthcare, Graduate School of Public Health, Yonsei University. His main research interests focus on health equity, healthcare planning, and development in low and middle income countries. All of these topics are extremely relevant to our summit broader audience. So without further ado, Professor Vasuki, please.
Thank you, Professor Wu. Thank you for me to given this opportunity. It's my great honor to present in front of you all. It's our part of Dr. Lee Jong-wook Fellowship Program is organized by KOFI, Korean International Foundation for Healthcare. So just we would like to spread our quality of education, how we are collaborating with the Korean government and for LMICs development. So hope it will be helpful to understand how to enhance the SDGs in 2030. So today I would like to talk about social networks and how to enhance the SDGs. As Professor Shariq said, SDGs we have to achieve in 2030. So my presentation is one part of SDGs, how to achieve SDGs by training the LMICs health professionals. So let me start my presentation. So our team, let me introduce my team. The program director, Professor Hyun, and the director of Lee Jong-wook Fellowship Program, Dr. Hyejin Jung, and myself. So this is the international collaboration by KOFI and Graduate School of Public Health, Yonsei University. So how to sustain the future by education and action. So it was a collaboration program. So we have a trainees from LMICs. They are all the health professionals from MOH and regional and district level professionals. So they all participated and they have reviewed many SDGs, how many are already existing in their LMICs. So this is one of the example from consultation across all 8 countries. So our topic, scientific metric analysis on approaches of sustainable development goals in LMICs. So let me discuss today overall scenario, introduction, aims, and what are all the methods we followed and what was our results and discussion. And finally, let's meet as Q&A. So the overall scenario, so the KOFI and Yonsei University have a collaboration in Dr. Lee Jong-wook Fellowship Program. So our main motto to achieve the sustainable development goals in LMICs by giving the education to the LMICs professionals. So here we have encouraged our fellows for reviewing many scientific articles. Then they have a focus group interview with their experts. And also we had online resources. Finally, we derived. So among 17 SDGs, only 6 of them as planned and proposed by the LMICs. So as we can see here, the 6 SDGs like SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 3, global health and well-being, SDGs 6, clean water and sanitation, and the 9th one, industrial and innovation of infrastructure. And the 4th also is included because it's a basic for all among 5, then also 0 hungers. So my background, it says the global health challenges are at forefront in intellectual debate is always a debate. In 2015, all the UN states, they committed to work towards achieve the SDGs by 2030. So there are some evidences and the early achievements and the challenges and the proposed projects that would be helpful for LMICs accelerate and implementation of health and health-related SDGs in 2030. So here we focus the scientometric analysis. So the scientometric analysis objectively represent all the state of the research and the scientific articles which are published in the peer-reviewed journals, while a critical analysis was employed and highlight the issues and the trends specifically in the LMICs. So our aims, it says, like a WHO motto, for the people, by the people, and to the people by the COFI fellowship. So we would like to provide and we would like to enhance the healthcare delivery system in the LMICs by the people of LMIC health professionals. So here main objectives of our project to find the evidences and progress of SDGs in 8 LMICs by Dr. Lee Jong-wook Fellowship Training Program as a critical aid through scientometric analysis of global academic output on the SDGs. So here we have followed some of the methods that mixed method evaluation, like MME here, review and focus group interview on the experts' opinion. So all together we have focused. Then the data sources, we searched many electronic databases, as we know, the public PubMed, MPhase, and Cochrane Library, blah, blah. Then, so we just focused recent 10 years data, like 2012 to 2022, all the articles published in English. Even though our fellows are having the different background of culture, languages, and this, so we just focus the commonly only English published articles. So we did an analysis like a frequency and a distribution of how many articles and how many SDGs SDGs have been focused in the LMICs as a percentage and frequency. Then the content analysis based on their focus group interview on their responses. So here are our fellows. So they are all working in, most of them working in Ministry of Health, Ghana, Mongolia, Laos, Ethiopia, Uganda, Uzbekistan, Cambodia, and Tanzania. There are, at present, we have 13 fellows. So every 3 months and every 6 months once, we are having the rotation training program for the LMICs professionals. So here are our review results. So overall total unique citation from the databases we drawn 421. So among those only related SDGs were 110. Then SDGs in LMICs was 35. So overall, after reading the abstract and the title and the whole textbook, full textbook, so we excluded 15 articles, or finally we withdraw only 14. Final retrieved articles are 14. So here the result is says most of the articles, most of the SDGs have been proposed in Ghana, like about 25%. And most of the articles addressed SDG goals, like SDG 3 is health and well-being. So overall results is integrated because most of the SDGs not only focused alone. So it was focused as a group of SDGs. For example, the basement is the health education, education-based health, or the quality of education-based SDGs. It's all the SDGs, whatever we withdraw all interrelated and interaction within the SDGs. For example, this figure, it says that the main focus of SDG is quality of education. This quality of education has many interrelated with the other SDGs. Through the quality of education, the most of the LMICs, they are planning to achieve no poverty is the first line. The second line is providing the clean water and safe sanitation. Through this providing the clean water and sanitation, so they would like to enhance and achieve good health and well-being in the LMICs. Especially the quality of education is having the interconnection with the industry, innovation and infrastructure of SDGs 9 and 10. Because through the education and through the training program and through many collaborative and international capacity building only, we can improve our infrastructure and innovation, especially in the LMICs. So also inequalities. So we have to reduce the inequalities by achieving this quality of education. So some of the proposed health policy planning and sustainable development goals addressed in the LMICs. So that mainly for the number 1 SDG, no poverty. So main focus was the socioeconomical status. How to improve the socioeconomical status in LMICs by self-help programs or women and child protection policy, or for providing the landscape, or for how to promote their incoming level, how to improve the incoming level. The second SDG is zero hunger. So mainly for African countries, it says that the malnutrition is highly prevalent. So some of the articles they focused how to eliminate, how to prevent the malnutrition in order to improve the child health. The third SDGs which focused in the good health and well-being. So overall health well-being included. So here I brought some example as medical health, and especially in the mental health, it focused suicide. Because of the poverty, because of the low income and the poor healthcare management and the poor education. So most of the LMICs and the people are undergoing, there's a highly statistics, the statistics of LMICs is suicide. So most of the articles focused on mental health as a suicide prevention. And also the prevalence of chronic diseases. As we know, there are many projects and the international collaborations held by WHO and LMICs. So our program also focusing on the chronic, not only the chronic diseases, the overall chronic diseases. So in terms of pregnancy and the newborn health services also, we are giving many health education programs through our fellows. Then in order to enhance our quality of educations, so our fellows and our former fellows, now they are providing and improving the primary basic level of educational policies in their respective countries and their respective place of work. And also providing the clean water and sanitation, the safe water supply of the rural areas. So through our coffee projects at the Yonsei University, we have made like a sanitation, water sanitation processes, and mainly in the rural places, they are under work. For ninth SDGs like industry and innovation and infrastructures. So already the THS is existing, but nowadays we are focusing the digital platform for enhancing the THSM2, the digital health databases and digital systems in 2. So our fellows are developing and planning, developing, and they are is about to implement the infrastructure planning, especially in the data collection and how to store the cloud system in the healthcare databases. In terms of SDGs 10, how to reduce the inequalities through the educations. So we are providing our trainees how to distribute the healthcare delivery system from the bottom to top. So this like equal distribution of facilities to reduce the inequalities, to underneath inequalities in the maternal and especially in the maternal and child health services and the delivery system. Now they are working to reduce the inequalities maximum, some of them planned by their action plan. So a discussion. So most of the articles related, most of the articles focused only, as I said, the 6 SDGs in the LMICs. But we would like to enhance and enrich some more SDGs should be focused in the future. So most of the 50% of the articles focused only SDGs, not found many remaining. So we would like to focus the public health sectors for the education action to sustain the future. So in conclusions, our fellows, the recent training fellows through the education programs, so their action plans to be planned to focus remaining SDGs in some extent by 2022, Dr. Lee Jung-wook Fellowship Program, so like a fellow from Lawopedia. So he has focused the education and training programs to skill up the capacity of international collaboration and health development, to teaching and training the health administrators at central and local level. Then another fellow, Miss Rita from Ghana. She's the secretary of Ghana Health Services. She's focusing educational and action, how to develop and institution of mechanisms to attract and retain the health workers to deprived areas in Ghana, especially in the rural area. So most of the health professionals, they don't want to work in the rural area. So she's going to educate to sustain the health workers in the vulnerable areas like a very rural and interior rural area of Ghana. So our focus on change, we have to look at changes in the primary health care approaches and the changes in the quality of life among people in LMICs. Also our action plans, because each and every 13 fellows, they have an education and action plans. So it must reflect the changes through Dr. Lee Jung-wook Fellowship Program to sustain the SDGs through education and action plan. So here are my fellows. So follow up our educational program, the training program for the public health administrators in LMICs. The next steps is going to as a field visits to enhance the social network and international collaborations. And also we would like to adopt the theoretical knowledge, whatever they learned in the educational based at Yonsei University Graduate School of Public Health, the theoretical knowledges into practical application at
I think the time limit is up.
Yeah, it's over. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much. Thanks to all our presenters. And we actually have had a very diverse panel. And I also want to thank the organizer, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, for organizing such a good summit. And just to repeat, please do get in touch with each of the presenters with your questions and utilize the virtual platform and post your questions. The time has been limited, but just in case, can I give a very quick shout out to the audience? If there's anyone quick question before we close. Okay, so keep in mind of schedule, keep in mind everyone is busy, and keep in mind there's so many more panels to attend. I will, as the chair of this session, close this session. Thank you very much, everybody.